Let's go find a network. Hopefully at this point you've gone into the virtual lab using the link on the web browser and got that started to build. Let's talk about what we're going to do while that's loading up. This lab is focused in on doing network discovery using CDP or LLDP if you want bonus points. The reason I say that is because CDP is turned on by default on all Cisco devices, whereas LLDP you'll often have to go enable. So if you'd like to do one over the other, feel free to do that. What I've done is I've taken the network diagram that we've been using this entire time and removed all of the port descriptions from it. That hopefully will flush your memory of what ports are what. And I'd like you to go in. It's not going to be recreating the whole network diagram. And obviously you can see the network diagram right here. You typically aren't able to have a network diagram if you don't have one, right? So what I'd like you to do is go into the specific places I've identified on this network diagram and determine what port assignments those are. What are those ports is what I want you to do. However, I want you to do it from an attached device. Actually, I should have put that in here as one of the requirements. From an attached device. That is, if you want to figure out what port this is, I want you to access Core 1. If you want to figure out what port this is, I want you to do it from Access 1. If you, right, I've said enough. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? It does you no good if you just access the device and do a show IP interface and start trying to figure out what ports are connected that way. Although again, without the subnets, without anything else, you may still have some struggles if you aren't familiar using CDP and LLDP features. Good. So what I'm going to do right now is pause the video. No, I'm not going to do that. You're going to do that. Pause the video, work on this, see if I'll put the diagram back up. Once you're done, unpause, and I'll go through it with you together. Sound good? Ready? Pause now. All right, I'm going to assume you did that. So I'm going to bring up my lab, and you can see I have access to everything. So let's first off look at the diagram. I'm going to figure out this link 1 first, and we are already right here on access 1. So we might as well start there. So I'll go on to access 1, do a show CDP neighbors. And right there I can see, okay, we've got Core 1, and this exposes all the information about it. Now, if I want to do a show CDP neighbors detail, get IP addresses and all that sort of thing, I can. But the thing that most people struggle with is which side is what? Meaning, is this Core 2's interface or is this Core 2's interface? The answer to that is think of this from Access 1's perspective. I typed in the show CDP neighbors command on Access 1. Thus, the local interface applies to the Access 1 switch. This is the gig 0/2 on Access 1. So let's go back to the diagram right here. We've got Core 2 is what we're wanting to identify. So Core 2, Access 1's interface is gig 0/2. So I could, if I was filling in that side. But the one we're looking for is right here, which is going to be gig 2/2. So the answer number 1 is 2/2. Good. Link 2. Let's go over to Core 1 right here and see what we've got. I'm going to do a show CDP neighbor and hit the enter key. I see R1AZ. Local interface. My interface on Core 1 is gig 1/1. The remote interface is going to be gig 0/0. So that is G 0/0. Now let's move over to link 3. We're over in Nevada. So I'll access the router and see if we can identify the port on that switch. So Nevada router right there. Show CDP neighbor enter. And I can see the other routers and what ports they are, but I also see the Nevada switch. My interface is out the VLAN 1, the .1 interface. The remote interface is gig 3/3. So fill that in, 3/3. Last one is this interface on the router. I'll go to the Florida switch to figure that out. Switch, if you can say it that way. Show CDP neighbors from the switch perspective. And I see the router interface. Switch side is 3/3. Router size is gig 1/0. G 1/0. Fill that in. Good. Only other thing I want to show you is if you did want to go for the bonus points, what you could have done is gone into the switch itself and the routers and everything else that's connected and typed in LLDP run. That turns on LLDP on the device, and you would need to do that for every single one of the devices, Core 1, Core 2, Access 1, and routers, all of them, because, again, none of them will have LLDP running by default. Cool? That is how you use CDP and LLDP to build a network diagram. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.